Well, for the first time in many weeks, Dolton trustees and Mayor Tiffany Henyard held a public meeting together, but not at Village Hall.
A Dolton home that she leased to Mayor Tiffany Henyard has filed eviction papers. She says Henyard has not paid her rent, and now
at the center of it all is none other than Mayor Tiffany Henyard, whom some have dubbed the super mayor. But is she truly that great or simply extremely controversial? The D-drama just keeps getting more intense. Let's get started on this disaster because, believe me, it has all the makings of a political thriller on television, complete with dubious choices made by shady players and enough court cases to make your head spin.
Fervent politician Tiffany Henyard appears to have lost control of both.
So let's begin with the most recent controversy. Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dolton, Illinois, made the decision to name a new police chief. This may seem like a fairly typical mayoral duty, but of course, this is Tiffany Henyard, and nothing she does is ever that simple. She chose Ronald B. Sar for the position despite numerous warning signs, and now the town is in a frenzy. The reason is that, as it turns out, this man isn't even legally qualified to be a cop, much less the top cop. Given that Ronald Burge is currently deemed inactive by the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board, he is not permitted to carry a firearm, issue citations, or perform any other duties that one would expect a police officer, much less a police chief. However, Tiffany chose to appoint him despite this, which led to yet another legal dispute with the town's trustees.
That in order to get a business license or a liquor license,
the full story,
the entire tale, as this circumstance did not arise suddenly because, since taking office as mayor of Dolton in 2021, Tiffany Henyard has been no stranger to controversy. She has been making waves from the start, so she may stay for all the wrong reasons. Her extravagant spending was the initial major scandal that made headlines. We're discussing spending tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars on upscale trips, elegant dinners, and even a Valentine's Day celebration. Party that featured igloo R&B music, a ton of selfies, and guess who paid for it? That's right, the residents of Dolton. What's more, Eyebrows Henyard has a tendency to surround herself with dubious people, which leads us back to her most recent decision to appoint Ronald Burge as police chief. People quickly pointed out that Burge hadn't been certified as a law enforcement officer during that time. Completed a requalification shoot since 2022, which means he isn't legally permitted to carry a firearm in public. That's a big deal for someone who is supposed to be in charge of a police department, don't you think? Now she's hinting at a big announcement that she says will lead to some of her opponents being arrested and charged. But the situation gets even more bizarre given that Burge is inactive and that the Illinois law. Henyard was strongly advised by the Enforcement Training and Standards Board to dismiss him from his post, but she is still pursuing it. The letter was rather explicit. Burge cannot operate as a law enforcement officer until Dolton finishes the required requalification and submits the required paperwork. But Tiffany Henyard isn't exactly known for abiding by the rules. In fact, this isn't the first time that she has disregarded the towns. When she made the appointment, the majority of the board opposed it, pointing out that she should apply for approval from the village's ordinances before assigning someone to such a crucial position. If you believe that stopped her, you haven't been paying attention. Henyard proceeded with the appointment anyhow, starting a legal battle that is currently being fought in court.
Teasing a big announcement that she claims will result in some of her opponents being arrested and charged.
Isn't just about Burge Henyard's past of problematic selections. It seems like she has a talent for selecting candidates with dubious backgrounds, or, at the very least, those who aren't entirely suited for the roles they're applying for. It's impossible to argue with the statement made by an internet commenter that she hires and recruits individuals like a mob boss because it's true for every move she makes. She makes decisions in order to consolidate her power and surround herself with people who will not challenge her authority. For instance, former police chief Les Lacey was another of Henyard's appointments, and guess what? He also had an inactive status with the state. I've been saying this about all tips and appointments if the state of Illinois has declared an individual as inactive. It can't be an officer. Tiffany Henyard appears to thrive in the chaos despite all the legal battles, public outcry, and mounting scandal. She's holding on to her position and even preparing for re-election, which is correct. She recently announced that she's running for re-election. Since Lacey has an inactive Illinois listing, this isn't a one-time thing. In true garden flair, she announced her candidacy for a second term as mayor with a daring, eye-catching social media post. "I'm running for mayor of Dolton again," which is subtle, but the fact is that, in spite of all the drama, Henyard won her first term with a landslide victory, receiving over 80% of the vote. This shows that she has a base of supporters who believe in her, or at least did in 2021. Henyard won't give up despite these scandals, but their support may not last. She has stated that she won't retire no matter how many legal battles she faces or how many people demand her resignation. As a result, I now have to pay a special process service to have them served, which adds to my costs. Speaking of legal battles, the town's trustees immediately pushed back, filing a restraining order to prevent Burge from serving as police chief without their approval after he was appointed by Henyard. The judge initially agreed with the trustees, stating that Burge couldn't serve in a role without going through the proper channels, but after a particularly tumultuous village board meeting, the judge reversed the decision. You believe that Burge could take over as interim police chief for 30 days while the village finds a more permanent solution. But you should be aware that the trustees are now preparing to return to court with a letter from the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board stating that Burge shouldn't even be permitted to lead the police in an interim capacity because of his inactive status, and, sincerely, they have a point. How can someone who isn't legally allowed to carry a gun have law enforcement authority and be trusted to run a whole police force? It's a recipe for trouble.
Lord showed up here to see her tenant in person after she says Henyard has been dodging both her and rent payments for months. The legal drama.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's legal drama goes well beyond disagreements about her staffing choices. It also affects her personal life, as she and her partner Kamal have been involved in numerous court cases. They are accused of not paying rent since August, and their landlord, Janetta Hull, who used to think of Henyard as a friend, is now in conflict with the embattled Woods in an eviction action for their Dolton rental property. Even though Mayor Hull has tried to serve Henyard and Woods with eviction proceedings, the couple has allegedly managed to avoid paying thousands of pounds in overdue rent, and her attempts to resolve the matter have been greeted with evasive tactics. Prevent being served, Hull claims that things have gotten worse after Henyard and Woods allegedly altered the property's locks, making it impossible for Hull to enter the house or carry out necessary upkeep. The strain it has imposed on their personal relationship and the fact that Henyard's legal issues in her private life now reflect the turmoil of her public profession portray an image of betrayal that goes deep. An entire city is engulfed in scandal. Dolton people are already dealing with the effects of Henyard's controversial leadership and dubious actions, and this developing story has only made their frustrations worse. Her personal legal troubles have turned into yet another chapter in a story that is getting more attention and raising questions as Henyard battles to save her job in the face of growing scandals. Concerns regarding her leadership abilities.
Meeting because business has not gotten done at 2 previous meetings, so that's some progress there. But this meeting was not without its fair share.
The drama.
Every new development in the drama surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard has added to the sense that her leadership is getting out of control, already embroiled in a number of scandals. Henyard and her boyfriend Kamal are facing eviction from their Dolton rental property. Woods' landlady, Janetta Hull, who was once thought of as Henyard's friend, says the pair hasn't paid rent since August and is currently owed thousands in back pay. Henyard and Woods have escaped being served eviction notices on several occasions, according to Hall, who has expressed irritation at their evasive methods. Significantly complicated the situation. As a mayor, you would think that the two would maintain good citizen standards, but H claims that they have changed the locks on the property, denying her access and preventing necessary maintenance. This situation hasn't done much to improve Henyard's public image. Behave, not observe that these individuals simply believe they are free to behave as they choose. As further accusations surface, Hull's remark just serves to confirm the feelings of many Dolton residents who believe Henyard is more concerned with her own interests than the welfare of the town she was elected to represent, implying that self-indulgence is more important than government in Henyard. The eviction process not only is the scandal damaging Henyard's reputation, but the FB has allegedly been looking into possible financial malfeasance in both Dolton and Thuron Township, where Henyard is also the township supervisor. The town and township received subpoenas early this year, indicating a continuing investigation into the Henyard's alleged misuse of government monies, which includes awarding dubious contracts, excessive personal expenditures, and lavish parties. These costs have caused her leadership to come under scrutiny. The misuse of public funds is not only a moral failing, but also a betrayal of the trust that the people of Dolton have placed in her, as evidenced by some expenses that seem far too personal to justify as public expenses. Many of them have been calling for accountability amid the village's growing financial difficulties, and Henyard's tenure has also been marred by charges of poor management and self-interest. Dolton's financial situation is unstable, with the village experiencing a large deficit and some vendors allegedly going months without payment. As a result, locals are wondering how their taxes have been used and community services are being negatively impacted. What Hull said captures this sentiment, highlighting the growing dissatisfaction among Dolton citizens who perceive their mayor's actions as representative of larger problems with local leadership. Hard's extravagant spending, alleged misappropriation of village funds, and failure to address urgent community issues have become a focal point for those calling for change. Despite the lots of disputes, Henyard has not backed down from her role. Rather, she has strengthened it and frequently presents herself as the target of political criticism. But this narrative hasn't done much to curry favor with the public or placate her detractors. For many, the leadership is disorganized and incompetent when it comes to personal legal. For the citizens of Dolton Rest, the stakes are high as they deal with the fallout from the decisions made by her government, and complications and financial mismanagement eclipse whatever achievements she could make. There are many people waiting for answers, and the federal inquiry into Henyard's conduct just makes matters more complicated. Responsibility for alleged misappropriation of public funds using Dolton's credit card. Mayor Tiffany Henyard recently spent an astounding $43,000 on Amazon in a single day, shocking many locals. And those are only the first reports. Also disclosed that taxpayer money is being spent at Target, Walgreens, Wayfair, and other stores, despite the village's financial difficulties and deficit approaching $5 million. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot intervened and began looking into Dolton's financial situation. An initial assessment published earlier this year emphasized the worrying state of the village's finances, with the general fund balance falling from over $5 million in 2022 to a deficit of $3.65 million by May 2024. Despite the growing evidence, Henyard has strongly denied any wrongdoing, claiming the accusations are part of a power and money grab. In a furious 90-minute Facebook Live tirade, she brushed off her detractors and even threatened legal action against them, saying, "I will be seeking arrest for individuals involved. I will be pressing charges." Her defiance hasn't done much to allay Dolton's mounting irritation and skepticism. Citizens who must deal with the consequences of her administration's financial choices as their town spirals deeper into debt. Tiffany Henyard, who frequently finds herself in the center of Dolton's political turmoil, has said she's had enough of the charges and is prepared to come out, saying that although she has repeatedly promised her, spill the tea, Henyard has been promising to provide her side of the story and even to start a podcast to address the accusations against her. But these plans have not yet come to fruition. Instead of clarity, the public has been left with cryptic statements, vague accusations, and, with a lot of finger-pointing, Henyard has portrayed herself as a victim of a corrupt system that wants to bring her down. She claims that political opponents and critics are unfairly targeting her in her now famous 90-minute Facebook Live tirade earlier this year. she also claims that she will be seeking arrests for. Those engaged charges will be brought against her, but despite her audacious statements, she has not provided hard proof to support them. Meanwhile, her detractors are becoming more outspoken in their accusations that she mismanaged Dolton's finances, abused her position of authority, and put her own interests ahead of the good of the community. Litigation disputes. There are numerous investigations into her spending patterns, alleged misappropriation of public funds, and even personal legal problems, including an ongoing eviction case. Critics claim that Henyard's leadership has left Dolton in a state of chaos, pointing to the town's financial difficulties, which include a deficit of almost $5 million. Residents and both the trustees and others have expressed their displeasure with her leadership approach, saying that it seems like she prioritizes maintaining her reputation over meeting the urgent needs of the community. Henyard maintains her combative stance in the face of growing criticism, presenting herself as a super mayor opposing an unjust system. The rift. While her critics see her as a self-serving leader pulling Dolton down, her supporters contend that she is being unfairly maligned and the victim of political sabotage. So is Henyard a misunderstood leader fighting against long-standing corruption, or is she the cause of the issues facing Dolton? The legal problems. Many are still in the dark regarding the town's financial management and her evasive response to these accusations until Henyard delivers the proof she has long promised. For the time being, many people will find it difficult to believe victim narratives. Dolton's people are left to deal with the consequences of her contentious leadership. What do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comments below.